Hey everybody, I'm Agent Funk, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm joined by a super awesome guest. He's an Emmy-nominated director, producer, writer, and storyboard artist for numerous animated shows like Captain Planet, Double Dragons, Exo Squad, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and of course, X-Men, the animated series. Mr. Larry Houston, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the show. I appreciate it.
Very excited to have you here. I'm a huge fan of your work and your career. The X-Men showed up on the Spider-Man 90s cartoon show.
Yes.
In a crossover.
Yes.
But Spider-Man never made an appearance officially on X-Men besides his hand, which he snuck in, which is incredible. I think that episode has probably some of my favorite cameos. We'll talk more about cameos later, but
okay.
Can you talk about why Spider-Man never made it onto X-Men, but X-Men made it onto Spider-Man?
My understanding, I can't say my understanding, my guess is that the company that was producing the show was called Saban. And I don't think they wanted to give Saban rights to a character they hadn't purchased for them. So when Spider-Man and when the X-Men went into the Spider-Man show, there were a lot of contracts that everybody had to sign and everything, so that everything was like, yeah, we're doing a crossover, but Marvel, we still own everything. You Saban, you don't own the back end rights, ancillary rights and stuff. And so I think that's what it was, because when I did Spider-Man, let me tell you, my philosophy of doing the cameos is that I tried to drop them in places that it didn't interfere with the original story.
Right.
And so when I did this, when I left the X-Men and went to the Fantastic Four to direct it, I did the same thing. I'd have, like, you see the Fantastic Four in their Fantastic car going somewhere, but underneath a ledge of something in the foreground might be an upside down Spider-Man, and they zoom through the scene.
Yeah,
it was nothing,
That's right. That's right. Yes.
And so I would include cameos as long as it didn't interfere with the original story.
Yeah.
And so I think I did the same. I tried to do the same thing on the X-Men with Spider-Man, but as soon as they saw that, they killed it. But there was an episode called Slave Island. The writer just wrote Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as background people. So I physically went home, brought my comic books to work, put it on a Xerox machine, and I told my staff, okay, make this a Blob, make this Sunfire, make this North Star, I started, taking characters I knew and I wanted to populate it with other mutants that are on Slave Island.
Yeah.
But I did not call them by their original names. I called them Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Went into the system. I didn't hear any yelling back, crickets, I went, okay, I know how to do this now.
That is hilarious.
And so from that point forward, when I would do that, I never called them their real names. Like,
yeah.
I did a Black Panther once.
That's right.
His first appearance, and he was African mutant number 3. I didn't call him Black Panther, but I got him into the show.
so that was the workaround, is not calling them by their name.
Yes.
But they're able to at least show a little bit of their power.
Yeah.
Like, they're allowed to, so basically you could do that. You just didn't have to call them by their name, and they didn't have to have a voice, right? Like no dialogue, not being called by their name.
Yeah, but because usually if you have a character that has dialogue, their name is there.
Yes, you're right.
And so my characters, when I had the cameos, were it's like a fire hydrant, a building, a car.
Yeah.
Mutant number 5. That's it.
Right.
And so it didn't raise any red flags. I scooted under the radar and got it into the show. And
it helped that a lot of the people who were approving this stuff weren't, like, familiar with the characters and weren't like, so they didn't know. They just didn't know.
They didn't know what they were looking at. Because if I send them something that said Spider-Man, they know what that is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if I send Mutant 17, Mutant 5, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, just another one. Okay.
Yep. Red mutant on building.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah.
So to them, it was nothing. It's like, it's a mutant show, so here's mutants. Okay, fine. They didn't care.
That's
I cared.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because I think that's one of the the fun things that fans are still, especially on Twitter, that is like a thing that people like, like, oh my gosh, it's this character. Like they'll just randomly say that because you put so many Easter eggs
Yeah.
in the entire show. And I wrote down my 3 favorite ones.
Okay.
The number 1 is when you had the Power Rangers show up in the Juggernaut Returns. I don't know if you remember that, but he crashed I guess a filming studio, and then when he ran out of the building, he was being chased by the Blue Ranger and the Pink Ranger. I mean,
yes.
So
yes.
that's my favorite one. The second one is when you had Morph, when he's evil Morph and he's shifting into different characters.
Right.
Like, he was Deadpool and Maverick. So I was like, that is awesome. And then obviously Spider-Man's arm was like my other favorite one. And then I think you had like the more recent version of Morph, where he had like the white face and like the weird outfit. He showed up in one episode that I just recently saw like the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Morph, but like the future version.
Right. That might have been in One Man's Worth or something.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, show like that.
Man.
Yeah.
Is there a cameo that you wish that you had snuck in there that you didn't get a chance to?
I tried to put a lot. I tried to put. I can't think of one that I didn't do. I tried to.
You're like, I did them all.
I tried to exhaust my imagination of mutants. I think I used a lot of mutants in a show called when Magneto was assembling. He was gathering all these mutants to Genosha.
Yes, yeah.
To go up, and I went through and started looking for mutants that can be like populate the background. I found a lot of obscure ones, and I just populated with different characters, and I think it was in that episode, and there's another episode where I found a bunch of other mutants for when Cyclops went to some place and he lost his eye powers or something, and I had a whole town with mutants, and so I added a whole bunch there too. Also, that I went and I had to dig, go through all the other books, the New Mutants, X Factor. Looking for guys to put in there? Did
you have access to any Marvel character, or were you specifically looking for X-Men mutant characters?
I was trying to stay within the X-Men universe. I mean, I probably could have put characters, the Avengers or any other characters, but I was trying to stay within the mutant world, and that's why unless it was necessary, I didn't put any Avengers and stuff. It was like, no, I just stay in the mutant world for the series.
My next big question about cameos, was there, I'm sure there was, but I want to hear it from you. Were there any talks to have a Stanley cameo on the X-Men show? Is there a Stanley cameo in the X-Men show?
No, we never had a talk for it. There is a Jack Kirby cameo.
Really?
Yeah. And it's in the episode you like. It's in Mojo World. In Mojo.
Is it? Oh
yeah. When you'll see a pan, like in their world, you'll see this alien audience doing like yeah, and you'll do a pan shot and you'll see this one human character, and it's Kirby right dead center of the composition, and you'll see Kirby there.
Oh,
I mean, the limitations are it's the artists overseas could only draw so good.
Sure,
but it's Kirby. We delivered
that was intentionally meant to be him. Oh, okay. Yes. I'm gonna definitely look for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a guy, white hair. You'll see him. It's like you got all these crazy aliens, and you got human right here, and he stands out in the crowd.
That's hilarious. Why wasn't Stan? Did he? I mean, I'm assuming did he want to? Did he not want to?
No, he never brought it up, and I don't think he wanted to, because when we did the opening, the opening with of the show, the intro.
Yeah.
He wanted to narrate it, and we had to figure out a way to. We basically had to politically tell him, no, we don't want narration on this.
Yeah.
because we had narration on Pride of the X-Men.
That's right.
We didn't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And except for Cyclops, Jean, and X and Professor X, Stan didn't know the characters because they're all brand new.
Yeah.
And so he had a limited interest, but yeah, it didn't have his full attention.
Gotcha.
He was off on doing some other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering if he was hidden somewhere in the show and we just never knew, you know, like just like Jack Kirby. I didn't realize that he was there.
Stan did write, and he wrote 2 pieces of dialogue. I was in the Night of the Sentinel, when the Sentinel's walking through the parking lot, you hear a kid said, "Mommy, mommy, buy me that, buy me that." He wrote that dialogue, and then he wrote the other piece of dialogue when Jubilee falls into Cyclops' arm, and the Sentinel blasts something over here, and his dialogue was, "Energy blast, huh? Here's one from a pro," and then he takes his head off. He wrote those 2 pieces of dialogue, and myself and Will, we were going, "Stan, this is great. You need to do more. You need to do more." But he didn't, it's like he didn't want to get involved, so he kind of backed off.
That's a shame. I mean, if there's one thing he was really good at, it's those like one-liner zingers, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, we couldn't get him more involved with the show, and that was the first season. So again, everybody thought we were doing it all wrong. So
yeah,
I don't know if he had a full faith in the show, except for us, Margaret Lash, and one other executive at Fox. We were kind of pretty much on our own, and we were going by our gut feeling. And see, I'm a fanboy from a long time ago, but I'm also a professional director. So I kind of blended the 2 together and put all of that into the X-Men to make it the best show that I could.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to prove, you can do a successful show and adapt the show without changing everything,
Yeah. Yeah. It's already good. You just need to bring it over, and maybe adjust a couple of things, but most of it's good to go.
It's a director should respect the source material, because if you're doing a movie on whatever it is, there's a reason why it's successful. So try and take that and put it on the screen. It's 101. It's not smart. I mean, it's not difficult. Just take it, put it on the screen, but you do have to adapt it because it's not a comic book.
Correct.
But only change stuff if you have to. Don't change it because you can. And that was my philosophy in the writers. And so that's what we did.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing you had to, you just need to, make sure it fits the medium. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise it was, and you did just that. And it's now, it's on Disney Plus, and it's being introduced to a whole new audience. So that's exciting.
Yeah. The writers didn't know the X-Men.
Yeah.
They were literally,
that's really weird, because nowadays you would think you would writers now are usually like the fanboys, right? The writers are the ones who know the source material, but back then it was you were like the encyclopedia.
I had to bring them up to speed on the Marvel mythology.
Right.
But the thing is, what Eric and the people who work with Eric, what they were good at they were good at writing character stories, character arcs, and stories based on personality and who they are. Mm-hmm. And so the good part about it is they could take a look at the X-Men with fresh eyes.
That's true. Yeah.
And see it in a new way, and put that on the screen. And for my part is that I could take what they wrote and make sure it's within the canon of the books, that it stayed true to it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so we balanced each other.
Right.
And I really think having people work on it that weren't familiar with all the minutia and the mythology, it freed them up to write character stories. And it made it a better show, I think, for that. Because I've worked on other shows where I was trying to fight for, character story, this character, instead of the plot, base most of the adventure on who the character is, and it'll make it more fun. And it was a hit and miss over the years on different shows I worked on.
Sure.
But the X-Men, it worked.
Yeah, it's like the just the right balance, right? Of not knowing the characters, but also knowing the characters. You had like those two groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Let me mention one thing. It's like when I would get something, and I remember seeing this in a script once, where the writer wrote Storm's going to create a tornado or a whirlwind or something. And the writer wrote that Storm spins like this, like a top in the script. So for me, I took up my pen, I just scratched it out like this. And then I wrote what she would do to create a storm. So I was able to catch a lot of little mistakes like that way early, because if someone else who's not familiar with the mythology would have put that in production and would have come back and everybody's going, what the hell is that?
Right. Yeah. They wouldn't make the connection. Like, why is there a storm all of a sudden? Right. Like, oh, because it's this character's power and she's manipulating the weather. Yeah.
So I was able to delete stuff like that out early on, so that when we got the footage back, it wasn't, it was what we wanted, as opposed to, the mistakes.
Yeah.
There were just innocent errors because people didn't know the characters.
Right. I look forward to conventions coming back open, and hopefully I get to meet you at one of them. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a blast and an honor to get to talk to you finally.
Mark, I hope to talk to you soon too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.